Alright guys, welcome back for another video on HAIKYU Fly High, and with the Miya twins both being out now, let's do a team building guide with them. Now, I'm actually going to do a combination of both what I consider to be the best teams for them, but also towards the end of the video, I'm going to go into some of the more interesting off-meta and fun team wisdom, because at the end of the day, this is a game, not just there to be competitive. A lot of time, you just want to have a bit of fun and interesting team building, so I'll cover that toward the second half of the video as well. But let's start off with the strongest team, and I will do both right now in the near future and also far out in the future. So personally, in my opinion, the strongest Miya Twins team right now is going to be around the Winter Trio. So you are going to play Tendo here as well, and then at the same time you are going to go for quick specialty, and you're going to bring the two other best quick specialty spiker, which is going to be Hinata and also Tsukishima. Now, obviously, with the three of them, you are then able to cover all of the spiking because you kind of need three spikers to rotate them around. And also with Tendo needing what kind of helps if your team activate his ultimate as often as possible. With the combination of Tsukishima and also Hinata, you're actually able to reduce their cooldown. Tsukishima actually have two different ults as well, so therefore it kind of have synergy with Tendo as well. And then as for the last member, I am gonna go for Crow because of the bond with Tsukishima. It also kind of increase attack and defense technique, so which kind of helps with your Asumiya and also Miya to reach their threshold quicker. They also have a very strong deployment bond, which just increase the basic stats for your whole team, which also kind of works well here as well. And then for this one, obviously you will be setting the liberal sub to be mid blocker because you need to have 4 mid blockers. But the only thing to bear in mind is that because you need Hinata and Tsukishima to always be available there for the spike, otherwise you'll be running out of spike rotations. So that's kind of why it's important that you always place them behind one other mid blocker. So that's kind of why you can see here in the rotation, I always have another mid blocker in front of Tsukishima and also Hinata to make sure the liberal sub them out first. Okay, so that's basically what I personally consider to be the best team right now for Miya Twins. Now, moving on to in the near future, which is going to be when Hoshiyumi and also Hirogami are going to be out. Obviously, you are going to play those two together instead. And the two characters you'll be swapping out is going to be the firework duo of Suki and also Kuro. The reason you want to swap them out is kind of Kuro was always kind of the last option in the team, so it kind of makes sense to sub him out. And then one of the main reasons why we had Suki previously was obviously to provide that third spiking option, but now obviously Hoshiyumi is able to do that instead. And if you have to make a choice between Suki and also Hinata, then obviously Hinata is going to be the better option because it just synergizes a lot more well with Asumiya. Suki can actually sometimes creep up over the awareness threshold, especially when you are playing with the Hinata because their bond, if you actually take a look at what their bond is able to do, it can actually, sorry, not this bond, it can actually increase Suki's awareness by 50% of Hinata's awareness for full net crossing. That's kind of what Suki can sometimes actually creep up the awareness threshold, whereas Hinata wouldn't have that problem. So that's kind of why in the near future, which is basically next month, once the Camel Duo are out, this is probably going to be the best team for Miya Twins. Now, in the far future, which is when Jazz Trio are going to be out, it's going to be a very simple swap. You literally just swap out Hinata and also Tendo for the Jazz Trio. So you'll be upgrading your Nishinoya V1 to V2 now instead, okay? And you still have the Camel Duo because you kind of need that block, especially whenever you play with Miya Twins, you have to make sure your team still have 2 blockers. So the Camel Duo actually fits very, very well here. And then obviously you have the Jazz Trio here, also going to be very, very strong, quick speciality. Cool. So those were some of the meta or the competitive teams that you can build with Miya Twins. But now let's also have some fun and build some interesting team that no one's going to expect. Now, something you can play around is going to be the speciality of the team. Because what you can see so far is out of the team I recommended, they're always going to be quick specialty team because that's kind of what Miya Twins are known for. Now, the thing in this game is that you can always kind of convert a quick specialty team to a block specialty team. Like you can see in all 3 of the examples I've shown, my block label is always at 3. So it's actually quite easy to do that conversion. And the reason for this is just that a lot of the blockers, they also have quick spiking label. So if I actually do something like this, you then realize it's very easy for me to convert or transition between quick specialty and block specialty. However, to transition to power attacking or receive specialty, it's going to be a lot harder. And the reason for this is obviously because Miya Twins, they only have quick label. So if you actually want to do a power spiking team, the remaining 4 members have to be power spiking. If you want to do a receive special team, the remaining 4 members have to be received. But at the same time, you have to bear in mind, in an optimal team building, you have to have these 2 blockers so that regardless of rotation, you always have someone up front able to do the block. And that's kind of why, if you actually then choose whoever have a block label but also have power spiking, you then realize actually there's not many options. There are only 2 SP characters who are able to do that. And same thing with block and receive, there are only 2 SP characters capable of doing that. And that's kind of why it's going to be a lot harder for you to build a Miya Twins team with power or block specialty, with power or receive special. But still doable, so let's try it out now. So let's start off with the power specialty. So obviously there are only 2 characters capable of blocking. We have to play them, and I'll probably position them this way so that regardless of rotation, you always have someone capable of blocking up front. Now, what you don't have to realize is that you have 3 characters here capable of doing strong block. So even though the remaining 2 members still need to be power specialty for you to have that team specialty, but you don't actually want them to be spikers. So instead, you actually want to pick characters who have a power label, but actually used for a different role, such as Iwazumi, who's doing very strong receive. And this is already going to be looking very good because you basically have Hoshimi, who's a very all-rounder, can do block, and that's kind of why he's spaced differently to Futakuchi, but also can do receive, and that's kind of why he's opposite Iwazumi. And with this setup, to be honest, you don't probably even need a liberal. And then that leads to something very interesting, because now you can actually build an Inarizaki power spiking team by putting in Genjima, and then for the liberal option, you then put in Akagi. And now all of a sudden, you have both a Inarizaki school team and also a power specialty. No one's going to expect that with Miya Twins, okay? So this is a classic example of a really fun team that you can build with Miya Twins. And then the other option, let's say if you don't actually want to go for Inarizaki, because obviously Akagi is only SSR, it could drag down your team rating, etc. What you can do instead is we can go for a different option for power spiking. And once again, we don't actually pick someone for the purpose of spiking, but we can pick someone for the purpose of buffing. So we can then bring in Akashi. Now, Akashi actually have amazing synergy with Miya Twins because Akashi only give awareness buff during the middle of the match rather than at the start of turn. So therefore, when you actually have a setup that's this, you are able to ensure your spikers are always capable of critting because Akashi will be transferring a huge amount of awareness to them. However, at the same time, still able to utilize the buff from Miya Twins. Okay, so that's kind of why this could also be a very, very strong power spiking team. And then obviously for this one, because you have freed up the liberal option to be anyone else, you can then put in an SP liberal here. So this is going to be a very strong power spiking team with Miya Twins that no one's going to expect. Now let's do a receiving specialty team, okay? Now, once again, if we actually go down to some character with both block and also receive at the same time, you realize there are only 2 options. So by default, we would have to play them. Now, if we do actually play them, such as this, I will sort out the rotation in a bit, but basically what we can do is something like this, and then we need to pick 2 other characters with receiving label. Now, what you then realize here is that I only have 2 spikers, so I would still need another really strong spiker capable of doing, another receive label character capable of spiking. And obviously the first thing that's going to come in mind is probably going to be someone such as SP Hinata. SP Hinata is able to provide very strong spike, and also obviously he does have that receive label, and also normally his awareness will be less than 30% for sure, so he will be actually able to eat up the buff for Asumia. So you can do something like this, and then in order to make sure your Hinata is actually then capable of also always critting, because he only get 100% awareness buff when you decide actually do a critical receive. What you can then do is obviously his best duo, which is going to be SP Kema, and this obviously also activate another deployment bond with SP Crow. So this can be a very, very strong receiving type team with Miya Twins. And then once again, you can also go down the Inarizaki route as well, because for example, if you take a look here, you also have Ginjima, you also have receive label, and then once again for the liberal option, you can now go back to Akagi, and then this provides you a very strong receive type team was also a school born for Inarizaki as well. Okay, so those are two very interesting teams that you can build with Miya twins, which no one is going to expect you to do. And then the last thing I'm going to do is going to be far in the future. You can also do another Inarizaki team, but this time it's actually going to be full SP. Now this is also going to be a very strong team. So this probably going more into the meta competitive end, because basically what you're going to have is you're going to have the full SP character from Inarizaki, then plus a Camel Deal, and then finish off you're going to have Yaku, who, even though right now we do not see a bond with Kita, I imagine that will be coming in the future eventually. So that's kind of why he is going to be the choice of Liberal here as well. So this is also going to be a very strong Inarizaki team far down in the future. Okay, so those are all some of the both strong competitive teams that you can build with Miya Twins, and those are some of the more fun, interesting teams that you can build with him. Let me know what you guys think, and also how do you plan to team build around them.